The Orlando real estate market has had a lot going on lately. Some of it good, some of it complicated, but overall, it's been a lot of stuff from all over the world that's affecting everybody equally. My name is Ray Lopez. I've been doing real estate here in the greater Orlando area for a little over 20 years. Well, let's look at what happened in February. In February, the interest rates actually dipped into the 5% range for the first time since 2022. That was a really big deal. With the geopolitical events that happened halfway around the world right at the beginning of this month, rates actually are now in the lower sixes. Everybody doesn't really understand what's going on or where rates are going to go, but what we do know is the real estate market is heating up because it's spring in Central Florida. Okay, let's talk numbers. Real estate numbers and data can feel overwhelming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and translate these so we can look and see exactly how it could affect you if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest. Interest rates actually got to 5.88% in February, and that's down from 6.69% a year ago. That's a 12% drop. When you look at that 12% drop, if somebody's buying a $375,000 house, which is actually our median price right now in Orlando, what that would actually translate to, the difference in payment between those two interest rates is about $200. And $200 is actually real money, guys. The reality is that can be the difference between somebody actually renting or buying. So when rates got into the fives, mortgage applications actually started going up. We started getting more calls. So in February, we saw a big uptick in business, and that's all due to the interest rates dropping 12% year over year. So we just talked about median price being $375,000 in that last example. When you look at a $375,000 median price, it's very affordable when you look at a big city. Orlando ranks as the 20th largest city in America. When I get relocation calls and people are moving to Orlando and they can buy a relatively nice house for under $400,000, they're pretty shocked. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like at $375,000. Well, in 2024 and in 2025, that $375,000 median price has been pretty stable over the last few years. So whereas a lot of people talked about a real estate correction or crash happening, our correction is more of a stabilizing market. When you look at our numbers year over year and month over month, everything for the last 2.5 years has been very similar. And what I mean by that is if you watch YouTube a lot, you'll hear the YouTubers talk about real estate crashing in Florida. It's not so much that it's crashing, it's that it's actually pretty stable. So year over year, we might have lost or gained a couple of dollars, either higher or lower in median price, but for the last 3 years, it's been very similar. Well, let's talk about inventory, because inventory is one of the biggest indicators of where that median price is going to be. When I first got into real estate, my mentor at the time told me one piece of advice that I still remember today. That is that time on the market is the enemy of the seller. And what that means to us lay people is the longer a house sits on the market, the greater leverage the buyer has against getting that price at a better price. So if it's been on the market a little longer, it hurts the seller. All right, so let's talk about days on the market. Right now, we're sitting at 83 days on the market, and that's actually up from 76 days on the market last year. So your house, if you list it tomorrow, will actually sit on the market almost 3 months, depending on location, good schools. Does it have a pool? Does it have land? Is it in good condition? Does it smell good? Is it priced right? These are things, basic things, that make a house more appealing. The more boxes that this house that you're listing checks, the shorter it'll stay on the market. So again, a really good real estate agent will help you with that. All right, we talked about that inventory. We're sitting currently at a little bit shy of 12,000 homes. In a normal market, we're sitting at about 10,000 homes. That means we're in a little bit of a buyer's market. So if you're looking to buy right now, houses are sitting a little longer. We have a little bit more inventory. So right now, you get a chance to actually make an offer on a house. You get to think about it. You get to maybe get some closing costs, get repairs done. Now remember, we just talked about this. If you're selling a house, the more boxes that you checked, location, good schools, condition, the more you have of those, the less of a buyer's market it is. Because when a house checks a lot of those boxes, they actually go very fast and we actually get multiple offers. So again, it's a very complicated market. All right, so let's talk a little bit about sales activity. Last month, we sold 1,888 homes. That's 15% higher than January and a little bit higher than last year. So the market seems like it's very stable. It's not crashing, it's correcting. Again, in a normal market, we would typically sell about 2,400 homes in February. So we're still running a little bit lower than normal, but the good thing is with interest rates getting in the low sixes and last month into the fives, that actually helps the market pick up. So let's talk about the facts of what's going on in the world, because I alluded to that earlier. On February 28th, the United States and Israel launched a military strike on Iran. Financial markets reacted almost immediately. Mortgage rates, which had just dipped into the fives, jumped back into the sixes. And remember, those 5% interest rates we hadn't seen since 2022. When we looked at interest rates as of this last week, interest rates are sitting at about 6.2%. So again, we're swinging back and forth. Let's talk plain English here. What exactly happened? When we actually did the strikes on Iran, that is an oil producing area. And what ended up happening was they shut down one of the biggest oil pathways in the world. It's called the Strait of Hormuz. And that 20% of the world's oil moves through that strait. Well, once it got shut down, oil prices have went up to over $100 a barrel. When that happened, the Fed basically stated they may not lower interest rates this year, which actually makes investors very nervous. The bond yields went up, which meant interest rates followed. So that's kind of the natural trail of why we went from about 5.88% to almost 6.2% and what seemed like overnight. Depending on how long the war goes, we won't know exactly where rates are, but what we do know is in normal markets like Orlando and most of the country, we are in the spring selling season, but we do want to tell you what's going on in America and abroad. What this means if you're buying in today's market, let's take a look at what we've already recapped. Houses are spending a little bit more time on the market, which means that sellers mentally are wondering exactly why they're not selling at their price, so they're dropping their price. Rates in the low sixes, high fives. It's been more affordable to buy than it has been in the last 3 years. Job incomes have been going up, and with home prices stabilizing, that actually helps with affordability. And overall, a lot of people, you have to remember, there's 1.6 million people per NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 1.6 million people that are renting right now that want to get back into the buying pool. Once it gets as affordable to rent as it is to buy, then they actually want to get into the buying pool. With rates stabilizing and getting lower into the sixes and fives, this actually gives people a chance to buy into an affordable house, to be able to live into it in an area, let's just say Waterford Lakes, where our office is located. To buy a house right around 400, 3.2, very doable. If you go into the Lake Nona or maybe the Windermere West Side area, you might be in the 500-600s. And again, interest rates in the fives makes it relatively affordable. So again, when you're looking to buy, at least in Central Florida, now is a good time to buy before we get into the craziness of the summer. So let's look at it the other way. If you're looking to sell right now, we've said a lot of positive things about buying in today's market. Well, this is the reality as a seller. I've been in my house for 23 years. I'm actually sitting on a lot of equity. If you don't know this, the average American today is sitting on almost $300,000 in equity, okay? If you bought in the last few years, we just talked about the market stabilizing, you don't have that, unfortunately, unless you were carrying equity in when you bought the house. But the average American having $300,000 in equity, they have a lot more leverage nowadays to be able to price their house where it needs to be versus where they want it to be. The market will tell you if your price is good or bad. Your realtor will give you an idea of what's sold around there, but until they walk your property, it's hard to tell exactly what a house is worth. And that's why Zillow's estimate is so inaccurate, unfortunately. It would be nice if we had a scientific way to know exactly what your house is worth, but with location, schools, and everything inside of the house, inside and out, contributing to that value, it's tough without walking the property. So today, more than ever, having a realtor, somebody that knows the market, somebody that knows your area, is more important than it's ever been in my 23 years in real estate. So in summary, you can see why the Orlando market is very complicated when you're thinking about real estate, but when you look at the numbers, it actually makes a whole lot of sense. This is the one thing that people do know. People are moving to the Orlando area, the Central Florida area, and for many reasons. We do have some world-class theme parks. We've got Disney with all their parks. We have Universal, Epic Universe. We have SeaWorld. We have water parks. We have Legoland about an hour away. Not even to mention, 2 nights ago, I was watching the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Magic play at the Kia Dome. An hour and a half away, Tampa has all other sports. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rays, the Lightning. Again, Jacksonville is only 2.5 hours away. We have world-class beaches 45 minutes to an hour away. We're in the middle of the state. You can go to the East Coast, you can go to the West Coast. People are moving to Orlando. Okay, Florida in general, we just jumped ahead of New York. We are the third most populated state in the country, and Orlando sits right in the middle of Florida. We have access to the whole state. We have great interstates to get us around. If you stay away from downtown, guys, you'll avoid the traffic, but for the most part, you can see why Orlando is a very amazing town and why people want to live here. Well, do me a favor. We would love to hear from you. We would love for you to subscribe. We talk about neighborhoods. We talk about the fun things to do, things to avoid. We want you to be part of our community. Again, my name is Ray Lopez, local realtor here in Orlando. Thank you very much.